I want everybody to say, talk to me then, what? 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 Lady, talk to me then, what? Talk to me then, what?
All right, people. Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is one that hopefully is not going to trigger majority of you because it is a sensitive topic. But I did say whatever thought comes to my mind, instead of just thinking, I'll just share my thoughts on it with my audience. As you can see, I'm about to wrap my hands. I'm about to continue with my training. I was just doing core exercises. Initially, I didn't have a topic for today's episode, just to show how unprepared I am when I do these things. I think of a topic and then I just talk. So as I was working out, I was thinking, what am I going to talk about today? Because my audience is going to be waiting for this episode, or they're going to be waiting for my content. Ntenjwa Talks content. And then I thought to myself, last episode, I touched on something and I didn't get the backlash I was expecting. Also because I could kind of tell that because I'm not diving into it, so you might think to yourself, what exactly do I have to say about this topic? Well, you're about to find out. Today's topic is on racism. Now, this is not because of what happened with another podcast and another group. These are just my thoughts on the, let's call it, concept. Because the concept and what the word originally meant is not the same. But if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the world, you'll understand that some things were changed just to suit a certain narrative, right? And I'll encourage you to go have a look in the dictionary or search on whichever AI platform you want to use and ask it, what was the original definition of racism? And then you think about the concept, today's concept of racism. And then think to yourself, why exactly are we bombarded with this racism thing? Now we're going to jump into it because I seriously think that it goes back to this whole thing of us having to be scared of words, right? And that's what led me to talk about racism, because we are just scared of using certain words. They're just words. Why should a word be so offensive? Now, there's one thing that I don't agree, that I never promote actually, and it's funny because I'm wrapping my hands. Personally, let me not say personally for me, it doesn't make sense because I'm talking about myself. Personally, racism is a problem when it's violent. That's my stance on racism. Now, obviously, you're going to think to yourself, clearly I'm not clued up on what's been happening on apartheid and all these atrocious things that happened during that era or regime. I pretty much know what happened. Maybe I did, yes, of course I didn't experience it, but there are still some things where you can actually tell that, hey, we just got out of that regime, right? And As much as I feel like, of course, it was really, 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 really bad what happened. I'm not going to say it wasn't bad. It was bad. No one should experience anything of that sort. But everywhere in the world, people are experiencing this. Like, some people think that this only happened to South Africa. Yes, it was given a whole name, apartheid, but this whole thing of slavery happened everywhere in the world, right? And obviously, there's been some people who have actually made us understand why some countries should continue acting like a victim all the time. And for me, it really pisses me off because some jokes, people can't even, people have a low sense of humor, right? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because some person would actually mention a joke that is clearly a joke, maybe might be, pattern recognition, let me not say racism, like recognizing a pattern, and then mentioning it as a joke, and all of a sudden you're raising a whole lawsuit, or you are wanting to get fired if it happened in the workplace, or you causing a big ruckus about it just because of a word or a sentence. Seriously? Like, seriously. Like, I don't know, like something, like a lot of the problems in the world can be solved with just common sense. Now how are we supposed to solve all these problems when we are offended by words? I totally understand why all our elders keep saying every new generation is a weaker generation. The latest generation, or the latest generation will always be the weaker generation. You telling me they were offended by words? And it's funny because some of these words, some people actually embrace them and have now made sure that instead of it, that word being used against them, they are now claiming the word so that you can't use it. It's a word. So now, even if I tie to the gender for a second, one of the genders are offended if a certain word is said about them because of an action that they just can't seem to stop doing, right? Ask a woman what they would think, any average woman, and call them a certain word, because of an action. Let's just say, call them a word that you would usually call a woman if they are. Should I be polite or should I? Let me see. Fuck it. Ask a woman what would happen if you call them by a word that would basically say, that would basically give you an idea of what they're doing. A woman who cheats on men, what do we call them? The hoes. I tried, I just couldn't resist. The hoes, right? Call any woman that word and watch how offended they'll be. Whether it is true or not, because there's only a certain amount of women that word doesn't offend. Certain. And that's because they've actually owned it. They're like, you know what? I am a hoe, right? So back to racism. So of course you can now think of the words that I'm talking about, because those words, if you say them, obviously get banned or cancelled or whatever, right? So you can obviously think of those words, and judging from, let me just give you an idea, it is usually a word that is used to call my kind, right? See, man, this is not good. But it's fine. It's fine. Don't have to worry about it. I'm going to wear gloves. This doesn't bother me, right? So, anyway, this is the thing, right? People should stop being offended by words. Just stop being offended by words. That's why I said racism, the concept of racism, is only a problem for me when you're violent. Because now you're actually threatening my life. Why would a word threaten my life unless if it leads to violence? So, meaning, if I say, kill this thing or kill this person, that's leading to violence because you're actually saying something that is, you're commanding someone or you're commanding something or you're about to use something that's going to threaten my life. But if you just call me by a word, which is a label, why should I be offended by a label? It's like why? It's like how a chick that you, it's like how a woman that is your girlfriend, you call them a side chick, or a side chick, you just call them a friends with benefits, or for some reason now you call them, you see, now you're mislabeling them, and now all of a sudden it's a big problem. Why? That's another thing that doesn't make, like, why are you giving labels? Why? But let me not use that because it's going to make me, it's going to contradict what I'm about to say. Why are labels offensive when it comes to race? Why is it offensive? Why should I be offended when a person tells me that they're not surprised that I love watermelon? I love watermelon. So what you gonna say now? It's a black thing? Okay. I mean, there's a lot of things I can say about every single race, but I mean, everyone is sensitive now, so what can you say? The fact that we are controlled by words, not even by actions, we are so weak that we are controlled by words. Say a word and the whole world goes crazy. And obviously, like I said, actually, it's just happened here in South Africa recently. And the reason why I selected this topic is because, not because of that specifically, because I don't want to talk about that whole thing. So sensitive now, there's lawsuits and whatever. I just don't understand how words and pattern recognition has been so offensive. Now, again, I'm not saying whatever they said was right or wrong. I'm tailoring this to my thoughts on the concept of racism. Right? So, if you are recognizing a pattern, why is it wrong for me to assume that when I see someone of that nature, I should assume until that someone proves me wrong by obviously showing that not all of them do the same thing? Right? Now, there are some countries where they are totally racist, but it doesn't lead to violence. No. They just telling you or showing you that there's a reason why you are visiting us. It is because we are maintaining the traits and what makes us us. Let me make an example with Asians, specifically China, which is not a bad thing to say. If you go to China, they're obviously going to welcome you if you're obviously visiting legally, of course, Because that's another problem why we are now controlled by words, simply because there's a narrative that needs to play out. You go to China, what are you going to see? You're going to see Chinese. 90% of them. If you see another race, it's because they're visiting or they are now a citizen of the country. But when you go to China, what do you expect? To experience the Chinese culture, to experience the life of a Chinese, to learn about the history of China and what makes China China. So they are racist. That's if you think about the original definition of racism, not the concept which is so offensive now. If you go to the traditional European countries, I'd like to make an example of Poland, because for some reason they keep getting a backlash for them being Polish. Of course, if you're trying to prevent something from happening, you are going to want to go through extra measures of making sure that it doesn't happen. I respect Poland for doing what they're doing. And if you don't respect a country for ensuring that their boundaries are not easily broken, or you know what I mean, right? That means that they love their country. They want people to come to Poland because it is Poland. So that's what I mean. Stop being controlled by words. Stop being controlled by words. Now, when you talk about these things, you obviously get a huge backlash because some people believe that that's the case, obviously. Right? Sorry about that. As you can tell, I was disturbed. So anyway, let's continue. Where was I? So when you continue talking about these things, right? You obviously get punished for them because you are going against the narrative. You are going against the narrative, and when you go against the narrative, obviously you're going to be punished for it. Now it depends. Will you be able to survive the punishment, or will you just apologize and say no more, or sign something that is now going to be, is going to kind of force you to not talk about certain things, right? But now you're basically saying we're no longer going to operate on the realm of common sense. Because like I said, the reason why the problems that we currently have today, it's simple. We have just totally removed common sense out of the picture, and now everything doesn't make sense. Right? So, those two countries, I picked them specifically because, well, the other country is not getting shamed for it because it's a superpower of its own. And they don't really play by the narrative because they're operating on the realm of common sense. And it goes back to an episode that I was talked about, that when you have a dictator, everything just makes sense because what the dictator says, we will do. Unlike the other countries who have all these problems, or where their president is not a dictator-like president. So, the reason why I brought up even Poland is because they are suffering for common sense. You know, when you get asked, I may not be accurate at this, but when you get asked, like, so where are you from? What are you doing here? Or why, are you from here? Are you a citizen of this country? Or are you a foreigner? Like, some people get offended that you're being asked all these questions by the people of the place. It's like me coming to your house and you ask me all these questions that obviously are going to make me feel uncomfortable or that are going to remind me that I am not at my place, but I get offended for being asked something that's common sense. I'm allowing you into my house and I'm asking you, so where are you from? What are you doing here? Why are you dressed like this? Why are you not like, why are we ignoring common sense? Because if you ignore common sense, whenever you use the word, but you are racist, and now it's a whole, no, no, I'm not racist, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So that is why I totally don't understand why exactly. It's been long I'm talking and I still haven't finished wrapping my hands, but it's because I'm actually paying attention to what I'm saying and not what I'm actually doing, right? So anyway, we need to bring back common sense, firstly. And secondly, and most importantly, stop being offended by words. Obviously, words are serious if there's an action tied to them, especially an action that leads to your life being threatened. So if it's obviously words like, we must, I don't know, let me not say, we must unalive we must unalive a certain race group, that's obviously leading to your life being threatened. But if it's just, pattern recognition, I mean, really, is it because I have a high sense of humor or is it because we are sensitive? Really? So I hope you get, I hope you understand my stand on racism. And I hope after viewing the original definition of racism, you understand it is why it was changed first. I mean, they can name all these bullshit reasons like, what? No, this best represents the word bullshit. It's to make sure that we follow a certain narrative and we allow that narrative to come into play. And when you allow that narrative to come into play, then it's easier to control, basically. That's like I said, it's all about common sense. If we can bring back common sense, all the problems that we have in the world, we're no longer going to have them. Why? Because we are operating on a realm of common sense. Simple. So let's start using common sense and let's stop allowing words to control you. Action speaks louder than words. It's like a person who has the reason I'm not threatened by guns per se is because as soon as you keep, the moment you keep talking and talking and talking, I'm thinking to myself, this gun either has no bullets or I'm talking to a coward. So, going to practice, continue training. Please make sure you stop being controlled by words. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't have a problem with anyone. If I recognize a pattern, just understand that I'm recognizing a pattern and I'm not being racist. And if we were operating on the realm of common sense, what actually happened when that whole thing happened regarding this, because I know you know what I'm talking about. If it was operating on the realm of common sense and not to suit the narrative, that whole drama wouldn't have happened. But because you have to follow a certain narrative, that happened. Like I said, if I see, oh, there's a purple person, purple people are known for this, this, and that. But this purple person didn't do this, this, and that, or does not do this, this, and that, which means obviously it's above average, or majority of the purple people do this, not all of them. It's just a matter of, does he or she do it or not? Just like how when you see a pack of lions, you're not going to see which one is weaker than the other or which ones are males or females. You're just going to see, damn, lions. Then later on, it'd be like, oh, there's a female, male, the weakest one, the slowest one, the fattest one, whatever. Common sense. See you next episode.
I want everybody to